Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of It's Needed, the podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement in the community. It's your boy, Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I'm joined again by my light-skinned wonder from another mother, Mr. Oh No, it's the Popo. What's up, AJ?
Man, listen, it was snowing here 2 days ago, so the more times it snows here, the more likely I am to move to the West Coast. So
hey, let's go.
Cali might be gaining a permanent resident here soon.
Hey, I can tell you right now, what's the weather right now, Billy? It's like 70 degrees out here. 70 degrees, clear skies. I was out golfing yesterday. So, hey, It is what it is, baby. And we are also joined today by my man from the East Coast, my man Jorge. What's going on, Jorge?
Hey, blessings, my brothers. It's an honor and a blessing to be on this. Let's go. Yes.
Man,
so just real quick about the West, man. I'm with you. I'm up north. That snow is like spring is here and you can't see it. And yeah, I'm with you. Let's make plans to get good. Let's make plans to go west. Yeah, let's make plans to go west.
Y'all just come on. I've been trying to tell y'all. Y'all be acting like I'm lying. Y'all need to just quit fronting and just say, yeah, I'm trying to move to Cali. It is what it is. Y'all here trying to be bossy and stuff. No, just go ahead and move to Cali.
Hey, the funny part about it, Jorge, is a few episodes ago, Ryan said something that really blew my mind. He was like, hey, I'm thinking about taking the family to the mountain because my kids have never seen snow. And I was just like, yo, like that is crazy.
Y'all looking at me like
I heard the podcast, so I know I'm saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Y'all looking at me like I'm bougie or something like that. Hey, our kids had a blast. Hey, man, don't be hating on me and my bouginess. You know, yeah, I'm bougie and
own it. Yeah,
oh, man. Hey, so it's a pleasure to have you guys on. Just real quick. So me and Jorge have known each other probably actually, you know what? I've known Jorge 1 day shorter than I've known AJ. And what I mean by that, it's crazy how God works, man. We talk about God all the time on this podcast. So last summer, I went out to St. Louis to do a presentation for a buddy. And when I was out there, I had met AJ on that Saturday. And so I listen to the Secret to Success podcast all the time. And so when I was listening to that podcast prior to going out to St. Louis, I heard that my man E.T. was going to be speaking on that Sunday, the Sunday after I was going to do the presentation in St. Louis. So I was like, oh, shoot, man, let me go ahead and go to E.T.'s conference. And so I go to E.T.'s conference. I go to the conference I'm speaking at on that Saturday. I meet AJ. Me and AJ hit it off like brothers since day one.
Yes, sir.
So I met him on Saturday. We hung out the whole weekend. And then on that Sunday, I went to E.T.'s conference. And I'm standing in line getting some breakfast, and I see my what nationality are you? You Puerto Rican, right, Jorge?
I'm Puerto Rican, yes.
Yeah, he's Puerto Rican. So I see the Puerto Rican homie, right next to me. I'm like, man, what's up, man? So me and Jorge just start chopping it up. Jorge was at the ET conference as well. And I was like, man, this dude is nice, man. Like, this dude is cool as ever. So, but I could hear the accent. Like, Jorge got that East Coast, like from the Bronx. I'm nice, but you can catch these hands too. So
mad New Yorkish, B. Mad New Yorkish.
Mad New York, son.
What we call it Spanglish, right? You can't get the English right or the Spanish right. I promise you.
Man, Jorge was like, yeah, what's up, B? I was like, hey, man, my bad. I ain't tripping, dog. I promise you, I ain't no problem.
I'm gonna drink my soda over here.
Drink my soda over here, B. I'm gonna handle this business over here, son. You know what I mean? I'm from the Bronx, B. So I met Jorge. Me and Jorge hit it off immediately, man. We've been keeping in touch. Jorge does a lot of speaking across the country. He's actually in Atlanta right now because he's speaking to a middle school tomorrow. But Jorge's story is phenomenal, and so Jorge's going to share his story with us tonight. And you guys will understand why I wanted Jorge on the podcast when he gets into his story, man. But again, Jorge, me and my boy AJ and the Savage over here, we want to tell you thank you, man, for being on this podcast. It's a true honor and pleasure to have you, my brother.
The blessing is all mine. Thank you. And yeah, from day one, man, I'm a true believer of energy. So Ryan, your energy is good, and it's always been good. So I get on this. I just meet AJ right now. Energy's good. Savage over there. Energy's good. So yeah, I'm always with the energy. Let's get it.
Hey, Jorge likes the Savage's energy because he heard his ringtone. Bust down, Tatiana.
Yeah. Hey, the crazy part is Billy stood up and did the dance. I was like, hold up, Billy, chill, Billy.
I just playing. That wasn't the Savage's ringtone. His wife ought to be like, what you mean that's the ringtone? Bust down, Tatiana. What's that mean?
My man in trouble.
Oh man, let's get right into it because Jorge's story is good, man, and so I don't want to waste too much time. Real quick, man, let's talk about some current events, man. One of the current events since the last time, the recent stuff about the Harvard scandal came out, man, with the where you got all these celebrities that are spending a lot of money to get their kids to go to school. Like that was crazy, man. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Man, listen, look. I wish I had parents that was willing to spend that much money on my education.
You know what? I lived knowing that. Like I lived it on the opposite side. I've seen it. You know, never to that extent. But I believe one young lady or once they spent $6 million on. So think about like how far they were willing to go to stay on top.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, and so I was listening to, again, S2S podcast, and Jorge, you better let them know, man. I be shouting these guys out all the time.
Every episode.
Yeah, right. Every episode. But I was listening to their, go ahead.
No, I got you. Yeah. I definitely got you.
I was listening to their podcast, man. They were talking about legacy, man. And I never thought about it from this point, but they were saying, man, think about what some people will go through to maintain the legacy that they've built for their family. And like these people, not to make this situation by any means right, because it was wrong on all levels, man. Like you cheating the system and everything like that, and they're going to get punished for that. But they literally were spending so much money just to make sure their kid could go to Harvard, ultimately to preserve their legacy. You know what I mean? Whereas a lot of people that we deal with on a day-to-day basis that work, 9 to 5 or, just going to school or whatever it may be, not as a knock to them, but they don't think about legacy that much. Like they don't really think of it like that, where these people were spending so much money because they needed their kid to go to Harvard to preserve a legacy that was built. And so they had to cheat in whatever they had to do just to preserve a legacy. And so to me, what I got out of that is like, man, what is my mindset? Like, what type of legacy am I going to leave for my family, my kids? And I really want my legacy to be one that, man, like, my dad or my grandfather, my great grandfather literally changed the way we see policing, for the rest of our days. You know what I mean? Like, what did I do to contribute to this earth? Like, what kind of legacy did I leave, man? And so to them, legacy is important. Now they're trying to obtain legacy through all the wrong avenues. But I just thought it was crazy, man. Like these guys would go through so much, like spend $6 million to get their child into a school that only costs, well, I don't want to say only costs, but that costs $60,000 a year. They're going to spend more than the actual education is worth just to get that name or that title of Harvard behind their name. Man, that's crazy.
It's crazy, to be honest with you, right? Because, going back to legacy, I got to a point that I don't know who my grandfather is, and we don't talk about this gentleman because either side of the family, because they never left us anything. And so the reason your grandfather is usually because they did something for you. You just said it, Ryan, right? You want to be able to say that when your grandkids, your great grandkids be like your grandpa, great grandpa, like that's what legacy is. Mm-hmm. And so I couldn't even tell you my grandfather's name like that because he just didn't leave our great grandfather. They just our in my family tree, it's not known to leave something behind. So yeah, man, legacy is really serious out there, and you will. And that's just as we talking. How folks are willing to go beyond, because you said it's $6 million, and that's just one fraction, right? Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to try to stay on top. Yeah.
And what's funny is I think you can leave a negative or a positive legacy. And so when you hear Jorge's story in a minute, man, you're gonna see how he just literally shifted a legacy. Like for his grandkids, his great grandkids, his great grandkids, they're gonna look back to Jorge and be like, man, like my great grandfather just shifted the legacy and made it to where now there's a new expectation for our family. And so, I've been grateful to have two parents that care for me and love me. And, they were very, very hardworking middle class people. And they've done, by any means, man, they're superheroes in my eyes. But, and you guys have heard AJ's story. But, man, when you guys hear Jorge's story, man, it's going to be crazy how you can shift things. And so the other thing I want to shift real quick and transition to one thing I want to let all of our listeners know. Recently, some things came to light. As far as our social media page is concerned for Breaking Bears United. And so moving forward, you guys will no longer see me in uniform as much. I know that was a cool thing. A lot of people got to see me in uniform on my social media page. And that's one of the reasons why I do it, because there's a lot of people that don't want to be police officers. But then when they see me in a uniform and then they see I look like them, I talk like them, I act like them, it really makes the perception of law enforcement change for them. That's the main reason why I would post things in uniform. But due to some unfortunate circumstances, I have to kind of shift the way we post things and everything like that. But I do want to acknowledge my police department, man, because they've supported me in my journey with Breaking Barriers United from the very get-go. And so I really appreciate them. I want to give them a shout out. I'm not going to say them on the podcast, but they know who they are, man. So I really appreciate your support. But moving forward, you guys will see different content. And so, reach out to us. Let us know some of the content that you guys like. I think a lot of people reach out to us all the time because they're like, man, I love the content you guys have. Like, I love the content you guys are putting out. So if you guys are one of those people that really likes the content that we're putting out, reach out to us on our DM and let us know, okay, this is the content we like to continue to see. We're doing something new called the Tillman's Tip for the Day. And so those are things that we're going to be doing. Yeah. That's it's been hot too. Yeah, the Tillman's Tip for the Day, baby. Yeah, that's right. So
say it 3 times fast.
No, I ain't messing with that. I ain't gonna sound dumb on this podcast. I got a legacy to preserve.
Like what you did there.
Like what I did right there. So that's that. Other quick announcement real quick before we move forward is conference. So you guys all know we're having the first annual It's Needed conference August 1st, which is a Thursday. Tickets are selling, y'all. This is something that you do not want to miss. And hopefully I can get my boy Jorge to come and do a breakout session at this thing, in August, man. So the tickets are selling for this thing. We're going to have Noah Sapopo there as the host of the event.
Hostess with the mostest.
Hostess with the mostest. We got my boy E.T., Eric Thomas. He'll be there to present in the afternoon. My man Gordon Graham to present in the morning time. Jorge going to be there. So please get your tickets. They're selling out. They are selling out fast. And then the last thing before we get into the actual podcast, AJ, go ahead and take it away with the law enforcement memorial page.
Absolutely. So the last podcast that we recorded, which was 2 weeks ago, we came in at 23 line of death duties for the year. Today, there's 26. And I know 3 within 2 weeks may not seem a lot until one of those 3 is one of your loved ones or someone that you care about, right? Until we get that number down to 0, I won't be happy. I don't know about you guys, but I like to see the number going down, but until it's 0, I won't be happy.
Man, you ain't never lied about that, man. It's tough, and like we've always talked about it before, man. Anytime anybody loses their life, whether it's just a civilian, a police officer, loss of life sucks. Either way we look at it, but as being a police officer, it definitely is different because, like I said, I realize every single day. One of the things, I think I've said this before, man, but my son always asks me every day I leave for work is, "Daddy, you gonna come home tonight?" And, obviously I want to tell him, yeah, I'll be home, but, you just never know. You never know what people have on an agenda, what they're trying to do, and if they're trying to cause harm to somebody. And so I can only imagine if the day I told him, yeah, I'm coming home, and I don't come home, I can only imagine how tough that would be on my son, man. So, I definitely want to pay homage to the officers that lost their life in the line of duty. So, moving on, man, I hate talking on a somber note, but let's move into some positivity, man, or let's talk about how you can take something negative and just turn it around into a positive. And that's why I wanted to really bring Jorge onto this episode today, man, because I've heard Jorge's story a couple times, man. And man, like, I'm just, without further ado, Jorge, man, tell us our audience, man, and AJ, because AJ, you've never heard Jorge's story, right?
I have not.
Okay. So, this is going to be brand new for AJ. And it's actually going to be brand new for the Savages as well as our audience. So the cool thing is, man, all of our audience members are going to hear Jorge's story for the first time, just like AJ and Billy right now. So go ahead, Jorge. Without further ado, man, Jorge, take it over, man. I want to hear this.
Yeah, man. Thank you once again, and definitely respect to the fallen brothers and sisters out there wearing the uniform, because I truly believe that it's crazy how these numbers, and you said 2 and 3 weeks, that's bananas. So I salute both of you, like for real from the bottom of my heart, and you guys will get to understand why I say what I say once I get my story started. But I salute you and I thank you for everything you do on a day-to-day basis, risking your life for the community out there. It really means from the heart.
We appreciate you, brother.
Yep. So, you listen, man. My name is Jorge. As we all know, I come from. I'm born in Puerto Rico. Raised my mother had me at the age of 15. She dropped me off at grandma's house at 3. Her being a young mother and just having just the influence in the street. So I was left off my grandmother's house for since the age of 3. And so I come from a background of welfare recipients. I come from no father in my life. I come from just chaos in the household. What do I mean by that? That in my household there was education was never celebrated. It wasn't something that it was spoken of. It was just a lot of drug abuse. It was just a lot of fights and just poverty mindset. If I want to sum it up, it's just poverty mindset. And a lot of us, we come across a lot of individuals that live through that. That's their reality. And so by the age of 6, I could recall just walking into certain rooms and seeing my grandfather and my uncle with needles in their arms, right? Heroin. And they were heroin addicts. And so I grew up watching them not only abusing drugs, but abusing everybody and everything around them. And so they used to steal from us. They used to, we didn't have to worry about outside individuals coming into the house. We had them in the house. Yeah. And so, so for the longest, I really identify with what was in front of me. I believe that's what my norm was. By the age of 13, I was already in a space that, when you start turning into those teens, the early teens, you start looking, you want to be part of something. And so, as I said, I grew up in a household of all females, welfare recipients. Nobody pretty much did anything with me or kind of sat down with me or taught me anything. I remember, just being a kid, I would get a whooping because I wouldn't wash the dishes right. and so, but the thing that used to kill me is like nobody ever showed me how to wash the dishes.
Man, that's deep. That's deep.
You know what I'm saying? So we have a tendency in some households to just raise kids, not coach kids. And so by the age of 13, I was kind of inside of me. I was just I had this thing that I didn't want to be like anybody at home. I didn't know what that looked like, but I understood I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be that type of individual sitting in my living room just talking about how we're going to beat the system, right? I remember my grandmother and a couple of other people in my family just telling my kind of like showing my sisters that if you get pregnant, you get on welfare. And that's real. That was the norm. Like, that's how they got by. Like, that's how they got the check, right? That's how you was able to get your own apartment. And then we talked about Section A. And we talked like it was like being schooled how to get at the other level. Now, these are women teaching, passing down information to other generation, right? And so I'm the only boy in the household, so I'm looking like, where do I go? What does this look like? And so as a young man, you always want to be part of something. Just want to be part of something. And so, I remember, by the age of 13, we moved a lot. And I don't know if it was because we owed money. I really, to this day, I don't know what that was, but we were moving a lot, at least multiple times in the year. So it caused a lot of friction with me going to school. I was always the new guy. Not being the new guy, but I had to fight a lot. And so, I had this thing about school. I hated school because it was just hard for me. It was hard for me because of relationships. It was hard for me being the new guy and just have to deal with different groups of individuals. I would be in a school that is all 90% Caucasian, and I'm like the only Hispanic. Then I'll be in a school with all African American, and I'll be the only Hispanic. And it was just like I could never win. I promise. I could never win. And kids are horrible, man. When at that age they really give it to you. So me not having a male figure at home that I could look up to and respect, it was very challenging for me. And so by the age of 13, I started smoking weed. I started looking at the dope boys outside. Why? Why did I? Because they were doing the shiny things. They were showing they were flexing the new cars. They were flexing, and so I understood from an early age that I just wanted better. But because I didn't have a blueprint, I didn't know what that looked like. Like I said, I don't know who my grandfather is. We don't talk about grandpa because grandpa never left us nothing. There was nothing to talk about. And so, by the age of 15. I was in a freshman year of high school. I was already 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And what I mean by that, I was still going to school fighting through it. I was really fighting through it because I really didn't want to be no dropout. But it was just like, by the time I hit 9th grade, I had enough. And the only thing that kept me in school was actually football. I love football. I've always wanted to play organized football, but because no one at home really kind of took the time to probably put me in any organized sports or anything as a kid, that was my only time. And so when I did sign up, I was able to make the team. I made the team, and so I felt. I don't know if you guys ever play sports, right? But when you play sports in high school, you get to wear the jersey. You walk down the hallway. You had this sense of pride, like you part of something. And yo, I'll be honest with you, AJ, right? Like I was just so geeked. I was just like, yo, I get to wear my jersey. I'm part of a team. Like I was just like I was really geeked about that, man, and it just really made me happy inside. It made me want to work a little harder. But like I said earlier, right? Education was never celebrated. So we all know what that looks like in high school. Yep. If you do not have the certain grades, you don't do what?
You don't play.
You're not eligible. You're not eligible. So after that season, my intention was to pivot right into wrestling, right? Because that's really what I wanted. I wanted to just be a part of the sports, be a boy, right? It was the first time in my life that I could actually be a boy, because I didn't know what that was growing up jumping from house to house. So they told me, they said, no, you can't play because you're not eligible. And so I promise you, Ryan, at that time, I made a decision. I made a decision that I decided that I was going to, if I wasn't going to be able to jump in and continue playing sports, that I was just going to walk out of school and drop out. And that's exactly what I did. I made a decision and I dropped out. And at the age of 15, I walked out of school and never came back.
Wow.
And so, yeah, that decision right there, it changed my life. It changed my life, man. It changed my life. And in the midst of making that decision, so for the next 2 years, what am I doing? So now I'm immersed into gang activity. And I don't mean just emergent. I became part of like the front lines. I wasn't just a soldier. I was really, at 15, I'm surrounded by grown men that are, looking back, are puppeteering me, are using me, sense of belonging now. I feel like these are my brothers. These are people that got my back, because nobody has ever had my back. We look back, and my grandfather and uncle, they've always taken from me. Everybody that I've ever came across have always taken from me. So now they throw these shiny things in front of you, and they want to embrace you and give you a couple of hugs and call you brother. And you really think that this is it. And so in the midst of for the next 2 years, I'm in the drug trade. I'm in the gun trade. Wow. I'm immersed into real life gang activity. And so, I fell in love with it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I fell in love with it. I was the first one on the front lines. If anything happened, I was the first one. What I mean by the front lines is that I wasn't the one in the back. I wasn't considered soft. I was always really to try to show somebody that, yo, you're not messing with my brothers. And that lifestyle for 2 years, even though it seems like 2 years wasn't a lot, but that lifestyle really, I did a lot of things in that life in that time period that. By the time I hit 17, I remember walking down Bristol, Connecticut, and that's where originally I was there for the last couple of years, my middle school and high school. And so I had crack cocaine on me, and I'm walking downtown. I'm walking by the courthouse police department. In Bristol, there's the police department's the first floor, the courthouse is the second floor. So I'm walking by. I'm going from one side of town to the other. And there's these individuals that I kind of know, and that they must have been going to court for whatever reason. I stopped to talk to them. And in the midst of me talking to them, I didn't realize, or I didn't know, I wasn't aware, that a couple of minutes prior to me getting there, they were playing with a cap gun, one of those little cap toy guns. And so somebody reported that there was a gun being shown in front of the police department courthouse. And so as I'm sitting there, standing, talking to them, the officers walk outside and they put us all against the wall. Guess what happened? What do they find? Talking about the most dumbest criminal ever, right? like AJ, I promise you, they didn't put me into the cop car. They walked me inside the building, like literally 3 feet inside.
We're gonna take you right on. Don't even worry about getting in the car, dog.
Right in front of the station, like, hey.
Ryan, not even like I explained this to to this day. I look back, I'm like, yo, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Just a plain simple idiot. I think there was a show called The Most Dumbest Criminals, and I should have been on that. But they walked me inside and they found the crack cocaine on me, and obviously, I'm in a federal building. I'm on the premises. Oh yeah. But you know what's funny? At that point, Ryan, AJ, like I still had this I don't care attitude.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was so numb. I was so numb to what I've seen in front of me, to what I've been going through. Like by the age of 16, I really had that I didn't care attitude. Did I really didn't care? I'm sure I did, but I was numb to it.
Yeah.
I was just numb to it. I felt old. I felt like I've done so much already.
Mm-hmm.
And so that day, for the grace of God, Grandma bailed me out that one last time, right? I call that last one, Grandma, like, and she's like, yo, listen, I'm gonna bail you out, but I'm done. And so she bailed me out. And so that once if you get lucky enough to get bailed out, right, you usually have a court date right like a month after that. So usually you got to go show up to the judge right after that. And so thank God I didn't have to sit in jail waiting for the judge for the next court date. And so I was able to do that. And so May 2nd of 94 was my court date. May 2nd of 94, because I was 17, I had to come with my mother. Now, I told you both that me and my mother, she dropped me off at grandma. So me and my mother, just to give you a little sum of the relationship between my mother and I at the time. We were more like brothers and sisters. It was more like we just didn't have that eye to eye. So I remember that day. It was just crazy to even ask her. I haven't been at home since I was 15. So I've been on my own. I've been on the streets hanging around for the last 2 years. I'm doing what I want to do. Now I got to go back home and cop a plea and be like, yo, I need you to come. Cop a plea. I like, yo, about that things that I said and did, like, yo, I apologize.
I didn't mean it.
I promise you.
I promise you I didn't mean that. And so, because we all know that at the age of 17, society says you're not eligible to represent yourself. You're just not developed enough. And so I had a couple of plead and have mom come with me. So May 2nd, 94, we enter the building and I'm sitting in the courtroom. And as I'm sitting in the courtroom, I'm thinking through everything, right? I'm like, I'm gonna get locked up. Like I felt it in my stomach. I just felt something bad was gonna happen. And I'm like, yo, whatever. Like, what am I going to do now at this point? I'm so deep into the game. And so, that's the mindset that I had. I was just like, I'm so deep in the game. It's just no turning back. And so as I'm sitting there and I'm just, I got my mother on my left side, just kind of, reminding me how much of a loser I am, because that's basically what she's telling me. She's how much of a loser I am. As I look over my right shoulder, I see the set of doors open and I see this young man walk through. So we kind of lock eyes. And as I lock eyes, he's looking at me a funny way, and my spider sensors went off. And so I don't know homeboy, but he's looking at me like he definitely knows me. Yeah. And so as I popped my shoulders up, my head, took my head up, shoulders back, like chest popped out, and I'm looking at him like, yo, like what? And he gives me that what look, yeah, like what's the whole energy. Yeah. So
what's good?
That whole what's up, and so he gets on the phone, and I automatically knew what that was. So I get on the phone, and at that time, the cell phones weren't really popping off. Like you had to be a self-selected individual to have a cell phone. So I had to get on a payphone real quick. I had to get I had to get
orders quick. Boy.
Oh my God!
Mom,
I had to get on a payphone.
Let me get a spot. Let me get a quarter spot. Let me get 2 quarters. No, I can't use dimes. I need quarters.
So I make the phone call, and I'll be honest with you, his people got there before mine. Way before mine. They were 5 minutes into it. They were in the building. So now I'm looking at 4 individuals, and including my man. So that's 5. And so they start throwing gang signs, and we're in the courtroom, where the judge is at. And so I'm holding back. My mother's like, Jorge, por favor, not, saying please, not here, man. And so I'm like, you're not gonna disrespect me in front of my mother. But realistically, guys, was it about my mother?
Nah.
It wasn't about my mom. Let's be honest with you, man. I just told you, me and her didn't even have but that was just my cop out. Like, yo, you ain't gonna disrespect me, especially in front of my mother. And so one thing turned into another. So, verbal altercation turned into a physical. We got into a physical altercation inside the building, inside the room. And the sheriffs snatched not only them, they snatched me, they snatched my mom. And so I told you that the courthouse is in the 2nd floor. So they start dragging us down the staircases. And I remember telling myself, I'm like, yo, it's about to get real. Like there's 4 or 5 of them, and it's just me and my mom's. And so, but you're so numb, you're so stuck in this paralyzed mindset. You know what I'm saying? That you really, really get into a point that you feel like you have to walk through this door because you feel less than, or you think that somebody's gonna look at you in a different way. And so, as I think back, I'm like, yo, plenty of times through that whole chaos, I said to myself, yo, it's about to get real. Yeah. And so midway going down them stairs and we getting dragged in the chaos, everybody screaming, they threatening me, I'm threatening them back. Sheriff's just like, yo, we're not playing this. So when we hit the bottom of the staircase, I'm thinking we're taking a right. I'm thinking we're going right into the police department, right? Because remember, the police department is right on the bottom of the staircase. But as soon as we hit the bottom of the staircase, we took a left and they put us right outside the doors of the Bristol courthouse.
Wow.
Like literally.
Yo, what?
Jorge, like, so y'all gonna make me fight these guys?
No,
Yo.
you know, you're right. Then my man's looked at me like, "Oh, you think you hard? Go handle that."
Yo,
Jorge, like,
what?
you gonna sell me out like that?
And what am I supposed to do, guys? Right? I'm not no snitch, right?
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
you
cop.
gotta
I'm not gonna
throw
cop
down,
out. I'm not gonna cop out. Like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna say at this point? What am I gonna say? I don't want to do this.
Exactly.
Nah.
Yeah.
And
You in it. You in at this point.
I'm in it. I put my hand in the fire, and so sometimes you get burned. You got to get that smoke. And so as I go through that set of doors, I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna get mine, but whatever that happens. So I hear my mom screaming through like over my left shoulder, and she said, Jorge, and she says, gun. And so I promise you, man, I just reacted. I jumped in front of my mom, and bam, the first bullet hits me, and it stopped me in my track.
Wow.
And so for a lot of you listeners right now, I don't know if you ever seen the movie The Matrix, but that's just how I could sum it up. Time just stopped on me. Everything slowed down. I couldn't hear the chaos no more. It was just a beep noise. And I was just like stopped in my track. When the second bullet hit me, the only thing I could hear at this point was like, Jorge, they trying to kill you. Like, you got to run. So now I'm talking to myself. Now I'm the Holy Ghost, right? Because that's the only thing I could say right now. I thought it was me, but that was just the Holy Ghost. Like, you got to run. And so as I pivot and I try to run back into the building, I collapsed. My knees got weak. My torso just loosened up, and I just collapsed right on my face.
Wow.
And so as soon as I hit the concrete, bam, 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 I get 4 more bullets on my back. As I lay there. And so, yeah, even though me and my mother and I never had that good relationship, even though my mother and I always were more like cats and dogs, even though we were more like brothers and sisters, when her firstborn, her only boy, right, got gunned down right on her feet, she urinated on herself. And so as I was laying on that floor, I was just saying to myself, like, God, like, really, really. And I never at this point was never a Christian. I never believed in God. It's not that I didn't believe. I just didn't, it's not something, but automatically the first thing that came to my head was, God, am I dying?
Wow.
I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs. And I'll be honest with you, my brothers, the reason that I'm here talking to you, and blessed to be here talking to you, the ambulance were actually having lunch and they were on the scene while it went down. So they were parked across the street having lunch, and when I got gunned down, they seen everything and they were able to get out their ambulance and attend to me. And that's the only reason I'm still here to this day.
My
God,
goodness.
Wow.
Oh,
Hey.
So,
Yeah.
bro, Jorge, I've heard this story probably like 3 times, man. And every single time I hear it, I'm speechless. Like, Like, me and AJ, we get on this podcast and we talk about real issues involving law enforcement in the community. We talk about some serious stuff, man, like all the time. But when you hear stuff like this, like firsthand from somebody that's gone through what you've gone through, it's mind blowing to me. And one of the coolest things, and we talked about this before we got on today, fellas, is you have me, AJ, and Jorge, 3 guys that didn't know each other 6 months ago. Had no clue who each other were, come from different walks of life. We've heard AJ's story about him growing up without a father and how he's seen his father, recently and, addicted to drugs. You have somebody like me. I've been fortunate to have 2 parents who come from middle class. Then we have Jorge, who grew up doing gangs and stuff like that, and then gets shot and then paralyzed from the waist down. And I don't know if Jorge may mention this, but you're paralyzed from the waist down, right, Jorge?
Yeah, I'm definitely. I've been paralyzed for the last May 2nd of this year would be 25 years.
So Jorge's been paralyzed from the waist down for 25 years, and you have 2 police officers talking to a former gang member / dope dealer on one like podcast, man. And like the cool thing is the best part about it is we're all brothers in Christ. 1, but 2, man, like, we're all trying to do something positive. And that's what I mentioned earlier, man, when we talk about legacy and how Jorge has legitimately shifted legacy. Now, we haven't got into what Jorge's doing now, but man, this is just mind blowing to me. And like, I don't know about you, AJ, bro, but I have like so many questions, bro, like for Jorge that like I don't even know if we're gonna have time to get to it, man. But
Oh,
Jorge,
we're gonna have time.
first and foremost, Jorge, man, again, I can't tell you how much I thank you for coming on this podcast. A lot of our listeners are police officers, aspiring police officers, but we also have a lot of members of the community that aren't police officers. But specifically for our audience members that are police officers or trying to be police officers, Jorge is a real life example of how we're all human beings. Sometimes we get so caught up as police officers as just seeing people for the crimes they do or the things that they've done and forget that they're human, which unfortunately leads to this pessimistic mindset that everybody's dirty, everybody's a liar, everybody's a thief, everybody's a this or that. And we forget that we're human. And Jorge is a living example of somebody that is a human being. Now, granted, you were doing some things in the past that you shouldn't have been doing, but man, we all have done things in the past that we shouldn't have done, man. All of us. So what makes me different than Jorge? Only difference is I probably got away with some things back in the day. Now, I don't think I was doing stuff that was as serious as Jorge, but at the end of the day, none of us are perfect, man. And so the mere fact that we can come together, unite, you know what I mean? Break barriers and unite and talk about things. Man, this is just, I don't even have words right now, man. I'm going to turn it over to you, AJ.
Yeah. So, Jorge, I'll just start off with a question. But before I ask you the question, I'll make a statement of something that I observed. So as Ryan said, a majority of our audience are police officers or people aspiring to be police officers. Now, I've been a police officer, I think collectively for maybe like 8 years. And something that I have seen is younger police officers, they join the force and they immediately go to the inner city. And when you ask them, you go, hey, why did you become a police officer? Or why do you work the inner city? Or why do you want to work the inner city? 9 times out of 10, their immediate response is, I want to help people. I want to help the community. I want to be the change that, I want to see in the world, which is great. Fast forward a couple years and you ask them the same question. Hey, why do you work the inner city? Why do you want to work the inner city? Why do you enjoy working the inner city? And it's because that's where the action is. I want to chase criminals and get dope boys. And this is where all the criminals are. And I'm not saying this is a majority, but this is just something that I've seen in my personal experience. So, Jorge, you're a perfect example of someone who was raised in the inner city. And you said it yourself, telling your story is at a young age, you were basically just seeking acceptance, right? Like you wanted a group to accept you. When you were talking about you made the football team, like you wanted to rock the jersey just because you were so proud that you were part of a team, right? So my question to you is, what would your message be to not only law enforcement, but kind of towards law enforcement and just people in general of young individuals who live in the inner city, whether it's single parents, but, just young individuals who have the odds stacked against them? Like, what would your statement or what would you like to say to these people to inspire them to help someone who may be going down that same path?
Well, you know what? I always think about this because I get this question asked, and the way I look at it is, if I had the one opportunity to talk to my 17-year-old self, I would tell myself that your decisions in life will design your destiny. Like bottom line. What do I mean by that? Your circumstances, whatever you're facing, it does not define who you are. And so, unfortunately, at a young age, you are not developed enough to be able to understand that. Yeah. And so, for the young officers that are coming into the field, that are in position to help people, I just want you to, number one, get home safe. I need you to get home. I don't care what that looks like. Pull your gun out. You make sure. I don't care what that looks like, because I always put myself in your shoes. I promise you, that whole thing about walking to a car, stop the car, and just I've seen so much. I know what that looks like, and I want you guys to get home to your babies and family. I need you. That's that legacy we're talking about. So you do everything to make sure you protect yourself. I don't care what that looks like. Number one. Once you get to a point that you have secured the perimeters, that you secure yourself and you think you're safe, not think, you're safe and everybody else is safe, then leave with love.
Man.
Leave with love. There's no need for right now. My man's locked. He's got handcuffs. I get it. If he's spitting on you or that's one thing, right? Cool. I'm personally, I'm gonna press you. You're not gonna just spit at me. That's that. Let's keep it 100. But, okay, but somebody swearing at you, is that really a reason for you to really put it? You don't know what my man's going through or she's going through. You don't. Leave with love. And so I had a gentleman that called that right after we did the podcast in Jamaica, and this gentleman, he works for the government, federal government, and not to put it, his business out there, but he asked me, he said, when I'm interacting with these individuals, that one thing that you could tell me so they could see me human, like I'm a human being. They see me besides the uniform. I said the same thing I just said. You make sure you're safe. You make sure you get home to your family because I need you to do that. But after all that's said and done, you gotta leave with love. There's no reason why, because they're swearing at you. Now you're turning into this bully, this, you're letting your authority kind of like, there's no need. You don't know what that individual. So at that point, you start coaching. You start praying for people. You start giving them a nuggets. Like, listen, my man. And so if you arrested this gentleman a couple of times, now there's a relationship. You should have a relationship with this person already. Now you should be able to be in a position. Yeah. You should be in a position to kind of give them some nugget because now this is what you pledge for. You pledge to protect me. You pledge to protect the community. So the minute that you start acting like those animals, you're the biggest animal. Because now you giving yourself a reason to overpower you. And so I always go back to where we say, treat people the way you want to be treated. These are kids out there. These are somebody's kids. And sometimes we don't look at them. We look at them as grown men, but let's look at them as somebody's son, somebody's grandkid. And for the young kids, for the young fellas out there that are wilding out and very disrespectful when an officer is pulling you over, like, yo, first of all, like, let's keep it 100, right? Because I know I come from that.
Let's do it. Ain't
nobody told you to go do what you're doing, right? So you man up. You see, one thing about me, fellas, AJ, right? Like, I never ran.
Yeah.
And I was never the disrespectful. Like, when you caught me, please and thank you.
Right.
Please and thank you. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like that. And a lot of them would be like, yo, why are you even involved with this? Because they can feel the energy.
Yeah.
They understood where I was coming from. So for your young brothers out there, like, yo, you're so protecting yourself from the world and you're not letting people in because you feel like they're breaking you down. That's what the problem is. Because now you protected. Okay, nobody's hurting you, but now nobody can help you. So break that wall, judge everybody by their character, and judge everybody individually. And that's my opinion on that, man.
Man, I'm telling you, man, this podcast is going to be 2 hours. I'm telling you, I don't even care. So real quick, Jorge, tell everybody what you're doing now, because I want you to tell everybody what you're doing now so we can transition, because I'm going to start going. Once you tell everybody what you're doing, I want to go back to the beginning and then talk about how we're ending and how we're, the legacy, going back to that legacy talk. So tell everybody what you're doing now. You're wearing a hat right now that says, "What's your wheelchair?" So kind of explain what that is, man. And I obviously I know what it is, but I want all of our listeners and everybody to know what that is.
So real quick, I've been blessed and honored to be able to go from state to state across the country and soon to be international and just talk to these kids, folks from middle schools to high schools. But I talk to everybody. And so I have this my brand, my tagline is, "What is your wheelchair?" And so why do I ask that? If anybody sees me, they see me physically in a chair. And so my thing to them is like, we all have something, that paralyzed mindset that's keeping us from growing to the next level. It could be somebody that doesn't have a father. It could be that you got raped. It could be that they've been touching you at home. It could be that you come from poverty. It could be that you're a teacher, overwhelmed, over underpaid, and you're still dealing with this nonsense. And then you could be you officers that are being mistreated by social media, by the rest of the world because of some fools that did one or two things, right? So my thing is, what is your wheelchair? What's keeping you from actually moving to the next level? So that's my tagline. So now what I do is that I use my platform to go from school to school to educate, become filling the gaps between the educators and the students and the community. And so I have a lot of law enforcement friends right now. I'm blessed to be able to be in the position to say that I rock with the black and blue. Like I rock with him. I got I got some boys of mine that like close friends that are FBI agent. And it's crazy, Ryan. I think I told you this not too long ago. I said, I spent a long time trying to keep away from the alphabet boys, and now I'm surrounded by it, right? Because, hey, listen, but because I believe that life is what you make it, and so I was able to pivot and understand at an early age after my incident was that there's a purpose for me to be able to do that. There's a mission, and my mission is to create awareness. My mission is to help these young fellas and young ladies, or anybody that's just stuck in that paralyzed mindset, how to walk into their greatness. See, I was paralyzed way before I was put in a chair.
Man, woo, that horror.
Hey.
Oh,
hey. So
go ahead, AJ.
Something I want all of our listeners to understand, or if you're viewing this for the first time, whether it's on social media or whether you're listening to the podcast, is you have 3 individuals with completely different backgrounds who have one thing in common, and that's investing in our future. And the reason of that is because we've been through it, right? Like I've been through something completely different than these two gentlemen have. Ryan, completely different. Jorge, completely different. But we've been through enough to where we don't want the future to make the same mistakes that we did. Like, we want to leave this place a better place. So, like, if you're listening to this and you're going down the wrong path, or you're thinking about doing something different, like, take a step back and really think. Like we're not doing this to be cool, or just to have a podcast, or just to hear ourselves talk, or just to have this conversation. Like, we're doing this to truly pour into you, and like, you could do it. Like, you have a young brother on here who was selling guns and selling dope, and who got shot and turned his life around, is out here doing something crazy positive. Like, you have Ryan, Mr. BBU himself, who was out here moving and shaking on a nationwide basis, and you have me, who I just dance on Instagram and do goofy stuff. But
who I'm better than.
Like,
I'm better than
I don't know
dancing.
about all that. But really think about that. Like you have people who are trying to invest in you and make you become a better person if you don't want to do it yourself. So just soak this moment in and like rewind and listen to the story again, because if Jorge could go through what he went through and become the person that he is, then imagine what you could do if you got your life on track before you headed down the wrong path.
Man, and you know what? So I don't know, because Jorge, I follow you, man. I follow what you're doing, man. And I want our listeners to know, man, Jorge has not just stopped at going and talking at schools and making other people better. And Jorge has not stopped at his wheelchair. And what I mean by that is, not only did he recognize his wheelchair, but he ain't stopped at the wheelchair. The wheelchair is not the end point. And I've seen videos of Jorge actually taking progressive steps to walk again. Like, man, it's literally almost got me emotional, man. Like, I'm looking at Jorge and his bride, man, just like, you know, taking steps, you know, and walking, man. And so, man, I almost gonna get emotional right now. Like,
Man,
to see you, Jorge, man, not only just recognize your wheelchair, use that wheelchair as motivation, and then see you start to walk again. Oh my, man. Like, we have people out there right now that are going through situations right now. My mom, my dad, my sisters. We have people right now that can't get into a police academy because somebody told them they're overweight. We have people that couldn't get into the police academy because they failed an interview. We have people that can't get a job right now. We have people that are going through so much. We have wheelchairs everywhere. And what Jorge is talking about is, man, recognize what that wheelchair is. But once you recognize it, let's go. Hit the gas, baby. Let's go. Let's get out of that wheelchair. Let's start walking again. My man Jorge is walking or attempting to walk again. I seen last week, Jorge, you were in the hospital. And you know what? My man Jorge is still in there making videos, motivating people. We don't know what Jorge is going through. Man, we've done a lot of podcasts. I think this is what, episode 13, Billy? 14. And we've had a lot of special guests on here. And not to take away from our other special guests, because each and every one of them is important in their own way. But man, this episode right here, man, it literally it's taking things to another level, man, because people don't understand, like, man, if you could invest in yourself, if you can invest in your community, if you can invest in other people, man, like it's literally limitless, like what we can accomplish. Sometimes we get so bogged down with what's going on in society, you know, who the president is, who the president we want to be in there, or whatever it may be. I don't care. I'm not here to talk politics. I had a discussion a couple weeks ago about judging people. And one of the things I hate, man, is, you know, I hate when people judge people by the way they look. Now, it's natural. Every single one of us, we see somebody and we may get some preconceived notion about who this person is before even talking to them. But the difference between judging somebody by the way they look and, you know, actually finding out who this person is once you get past how they look, talk to that person. See who they are as a person first. I hate when people, based on the way somebody looks, will treat them the way they look. If that makes sense. So let me back this up. There are people out there that, based on the way you look, they're going to treat you according to the way you look. I think that's wrong on all levels. I understand, like, yeah, we all are going to get some preconceived judgment calls about people. But man, when you start to get to know who a person is, whether they're tatted from head to toe, whether they're in a wheelchair, whether they got some skin disease, whether they breath stink, whatever it may be, that person may be somebody you need to know. You know what I mean? And then judge them based on who they are as a person, their character. And so I don't know how I got to that topic right now, but man, I'm telling you, for some reason, the Lord has just got me on fire right now, man, because I am, man, go ahead, Jorge.
You know what? What's funny, Ryan, is that I get that a lot. For you guys, I don't know if you guys, I know you two could see me, but I am Jorge. I got my 2 earrings, right? I wear my beer. I'm always in sneakers, my cap. And
Sneakers
so
and the
The
soda.
sneakers.
yeah.
my Timberlands and
Yeah,
my
my Tims.
JanSport
I
and
got
my
my Tims,
JanSport.
and so you'd be surprised because I am a social person, so I speak to everybody. But after we finish talking, their jaws drop. Oh, so you CEO? Oh, so you really? Oh, so you you travel across the country? I'm like, yeah. And so it's going back to what you're saying is that we have to stop doing that, and all of us. It's just we all do it. And so I think that's one of the first things in life that we need to start practicing, because that's what gets us in trouble. When we start assuming, or we start judging, and so what happens with a lot of us, we don't take the opportunity to even just ask questions. So I praise God for those that do ask me the questions, so I'm able to explain myself, or even just talk to them. So after the conversation is over, that image that they have kind of fades away. And so when you was talking about identifying the mental wheelchair, like that's just one fraction of it, right? I need you not only to identify, but then I need you to aspire to one more. After I need you to aspire one more, I need you to actually self-love yourself, because you can't love nobody else if you don't self-love yourself, right? And then after you do that, know who you are. And that's the problem with a lot of officers, and that's a lot of problem with a lot of these young kids. You don't know who you are. You're too busy looking to the left, to the right, and you're mimicking everything you see. And that's the problem. Once you know who you are, and you got core values, and you know who your character aligns with, it don't matter what everybody else is doing. I promise you, just do the right thing, man. That's it. That's it. Let's walk into greatness.
Hey, I need them to stop the podcast, rewind it, and listen to what he just said one more time. Hey, Jorge, your resiliency is crazy, like crazy. But what impresses me the most about you is that your outlook overshadows your resiliency, which I didn't even think would be possible, right? Like here you are saying that it was the moment that you were placed in a wheelchair, which most people would see that as a disability, but you're seeing it like, you know what, like now I'm free, like now I got it, which is crazy. Like Ryan said, like we talk to people who are aspiring to be police officer, and they're like, you know what, I got kicked out the academy, I want to quit. Like, you want to quit because you got kicked out the academy? Like, come on. You have so many more opportunities, or look, like, I got a piece of paper or a written discipline for this, and everyone's against me. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
look, hey, listen to what Jorge just told you, and listen to his outlook, and just take a bit of his resiliency and apply it to your life, and imagine where you'd be, man. Hey, Jorge, you were truly inspiring me, brother.
Thank you. You know what, AJ? What people fail to realize that we only have one life to live.
That's it.
And life is truly what you make it. And time is something we're never going to get back. Mm-hmm. And so when I realized that, you could sit here and fold, right? You could sit here and be a punk about it. You could sit here, make excuses. My thing is, your excuses don't excuse you. Mm-hmm. Your excuses do not excuse you. And I know we're going through some things. I know some of y'all going through some financial situation. I know some of y'all going through some marital situation. I know some of y'all going through some mental health. Like, I get it. But your excuses in my book just don't excuse you. So what you sit there, and while you sit there and you mope around, or you try to figure out how to make it worse, because that's what we do. We break up with somebody, we want to listen to slow jams. Why are we listening to slow jams? I never got that. That's like torture.
So on the Usher, what?
Yeah. You want to burn? Let's burn. The torture. Burn. But why don't we use that energy and time, right, to start thinking how we're going to better ourselves? And so we have to do better as a community. Period. It's not so much, everybody want to point fingers at you brothers. And I promise you, that's one of my missions in life. I want to show that there is good and bad in every aspect of this. And so you can't judge individuals as a group. You can't. And that's a form of racism. Mm-hmm. Like, I promise you, we talk about racism in this country, but you're doing it to these officers. You're doing it like we all doing it to each other. So it has to stop. And I'm going to be that. I'm going to fill those gaps. I promise you.
Two points I want to bring up real quick. Jorge, so coming from you that was on the other side of the spectrum than AJ and I, obviously there's a huge divide between law enforcement and the community. We're trying to make it better every single day. Do you think that law enforcement is a necessary thing that we need in this country? And the reason I ask that is because sometimes people, they make statements like, we need to get rid of law enforcement, we need to do all this other stuff. What is your opinion about, the situation, the relationship between law enforcement and the community? And do you think that this is something that needs to disappear? Or, why do you think law enforcement is needed? Again, because you've been on the other side. So I want to hear from your point of view.
Yeah, we would be crazy as a community to let go of law enforcement. Crazy. I promise you. Whoever is even thinking about that, like you got, because who you gonna call when your mom is getting broken into, her house is getting broken? Who you gonna call when somebody in your family is getting raped? Who you gonna call when you getting pressed against the wall? Like for real. Like if you all thugs and you all killers and you all this until it gets real too close to your home, right? I've seen some real grown men fold under pressure and have to call 911.
Wow.
Like I've seen it. I've seen it. So I'm not going to sit here and try to sugarcoat. The reason that I have that mindset is because we are being brainwashed by the society and the community that you put yourself in. And so there's a small group of individuals that benefit from you guys not being around. Bottom line.
Wow.
That's reality. That's reality.
That's it.
And so, when they told me that, yo, you my brother, guess what? When I got gunned down 6 times, I got hit 6 times. Who was in my room? Who was in my room? I want you all young fellas, everybody, all you young cops, like, because it could be from you making a dumb decision of doing something that unlawful on the other side of you being an officer. Don't be stupid. Don't do something stupid, right? Because at the end of the day, whoever's going to come see you behind those bars, or whoever's going to see you in that hospital bed, it's only going to be a few people. I promise you. And it's not going to be worth it.
Now, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this too. So one of the things we're going through in California here, and I just want your personal, honest opinion, because like I said, I like to keep it 100. So whatever you agree with or you don't agree with, I think it's good because I want to know. But one of the things we're doing around California is we're lessening a lot of the we're lessening the punishments for certain crimes. So, for example, like in California, possession of methamphetamine, possession of any hardcore drug, cocaine, heroin, whatever, it's a misdemeanor. We're doing a lot of things where, they used to, if you did a crime with a gun, they used to get a gun enhancement or whatever, and now they've took that away. And so what we've seen from a law enforcement standpoint is like, we'll arrest somebody for, possession of methamphetamine, and then they're out the next day and they may be breaking into somebody's house or car. So what is what's your opinion on it, and what would you tell people? Because obviously where this comes from is we vote on these things as a society. And on surface value, it sounds good because, obviously we don't, overcrowded, prisons and stuff like that. It sounds good, but what is your opinion on that?
My opinion, right? I've seen, and in my 42 years of life, I've seen a lot, right? I was trained within my own household as a kid. I promise you, right? And so what I realized is that I've seen rapists get 2 or 3 years and walk away from molesting a kid, raping a kid. And then I've seen people for 200 grams of coke do 25 to life.
Wow.
Like there's something wrong with that. I promise you, there's something wrong with that. The whole thing about lessening certain laws, I truly believe in certain states, it's over being misused in so many ways. Because I'm against guns. I am against getting every gun off the streets in the United States of America. I think the only one that should be having guns should be the officers, anybody that uphold the laws. That's my thing. That's one of my missions in life, right? All these guns in school, all these, like, realistically, like, America makes money off of selling guns. And so we have to do better. So now you want to lock somebody up for life because they got caught with 100 grams of coke. Like, I get it. I know that the drug epidemic is hard out there and it's killing us, and I get it. But we have to balance it out. And so in my opinion, removing laws, making them softer, that's not the answer. What we need to do is have programs that when these individuals go through jail, that they're really getting rehabilitated into becoming abide citizens, right? A lot of times, the reason that a lot of us get caught up in the street life is because there's not anything out there for us, right? And there's programs, but these are programs that people actually hide behind to make money. And so you become a number. But there's not really too many programs where individually you could grab somebody and reform them to become a citizen in life and give them something that is going to be just as equal or better. What do I mean by that? Like, when you could tell me that I got a job to make $30,000 a year, like, you're not leaving me with too much choice.
Yeah,
you're leaving me with an individual that's not educated, right? So their cop out, their excuses. I'm gonna go to the street because I gotta survive. Also, I'll be honest with you. A lot of them I agree with. A lot of them I don't. Like I said, I'm for the kids. When a kid or a woman or somebody's getting raped and they're only getting 5 years, that turns my stomach inside out. Like, personally, you should get the key locked away. But then we have situations that, the drugs, the guns, they're getting, in my area anyway, they're throwing the key away. Now, you said something that in your area, They're lessening the gun laws. They kind of like not going as hard. I think that's crazy, because again, how safe are we making it for you guys to get home? How safe are we making it for our babies to get to our school, through our schools? How safe are we making our community? Somebody's making money and profit off of these situations, and we have to find out. We got to go to the big boys, right? Like, machine guns don't get into the streets because the dope boys know how to get them. Let's keep it 100. We're gonna talk, and we're gonna I've had some sweet things in my hand. I had an M80 at one point. Like
right.
I don't know if you know what an M80 is, but that's a street sweeper.
Right.
Yeah.
I promise you, I don't know how did I get that. Like, I know how I got it, but I don't like nobody from the hood. Nobody from the hood. That's a military assault rifle.
Yeah.
Right.
So we got bigger problems than what we think. I think we have to go for the head of those problems. To be honest with you, but I mean that's another episode.
Hey, you know, Jay,
we might have to make that happen.
We have to have Jorge on again, man. We're at an hour 10, and it feels like we just started this, man. There's so many things I want to talk about. I mean, we talked about division, and last thing I want to point I want to make up going back to division, and AJ, you can add on if you want to, and then we'll wrap it up here in a minute with the fair foul. But I was talking to some people about, you know, just how we live in a country that's so divided. Like, think about the things that divides us, like just not like politics. Think about how divisive politics are. And if we get spiritual on it, we talk about how, you know, Satan came in to divide people, because if he can divide you, he can conquer you, essentially. So we thinking about politics right now, man. You know, sometimes if somebody says I'm a Republican, you may have a Democrat that automatically is going to not even listen to this person. Somebody says I'm a Democrat, you have a Republican that's not going to listen to this person because now this person's a Democrat or whatever. So my point is that, again, going back to what we started at the beginning of this podcast, we have three people on this podcast, all from different backgrounds, and the one commonality is love, like Jorge mentioned. Man, I love y'all brothers, man. We ain't even spent that much time together, man, but just the way that we can come together and talk, man, and have this conversation from all different walks of life, man. I like that. You see, AJ, hey, make sure you put that on there, Billy. That was pretty cool. It is love, man, and we are able to talk to each other about, you know, real issues, man. And so, Jorge, man, I would be remiss to thank you, man, and say, hey, look, man, thank you for coming on this episode. We gonna have you back, man, like no doubt about it. And please support my man Jorge's mission. Jorge has what's your website, Jorge?
Website is Jorge Sierra, which is AJorgesierra.com. And listen, man, I'm for the people. I lead with love. I lead with just leadership, and I really use my platform to change lives and to create awareness, because this world is full of negative, bad energy, and I just think that we just need to shine a light upon a lot of things. And so I'm honored and blessed to be able to. AJ, thank you, man. First time meeting you. I love your energy, my brother. You got a brother here, you know, that wears Timbs. And they say soda,
soda and all of that. Yeah.
Speak Spanglish. Ryan, you know what it is, baby boy. Like, this wasn't by mistake. You know what I'm saying? You know, you and I really, really hooked it up and connected. So just know that you definitely got a brother here, and I'm at the front lines with you for whatever that is.
My man, I was laughing when Jorge was giving the spelling, because before we got on the podcast, I asked Jorge to send me his email, and he said, I was like, hey, dog, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and text that to me, bro. I'm not even gonna attempt to spell that.
AJ was like, yo, you're not even gonna try, bro.
Hey, but yeah, Jorge's doing motivational speaking. You're actually out in Atlanta right now, right? Speaking to a middle school tomorrow.
Yeah, I get to come and speak to the school tomorrow. You know, I'm honored and blessed. I get excited anytime you put me in front of our young babies, because I never had nobody to really talk to me, and so that's my mission, man. I'm really want to get rid of this gun violence in our country. And I really want to show our babies that your decisions define your destiny. So yeah, man, definitely. Yeah. If you could do anything to support that, let's get it.
Yeah, support Jorge's mission, man. We got to do something together. And well, actually, we are going to do something together. August 1st. What's August 1st, AJ?
Hey, the one and only It's Needed Conference. Be there, be square. So I know what it is.
So Jorge gonna be there. This podcast is brought to you by Breaking Barriers United. BBU is the one that's hosting this conference, man. And shout out to AJ. Shout out to Jorge. Man, we got some big things coming. AJ, you got anything else before we get into the fair foul?
Yeah, just real quick, and you know, not to beat a dead horse, Jorge. I've heard a lot of people's stories and a lot of people's testimonies, and I've heard some that have left me very motivated and made me think twice about a lot of things, but yours is by far the most powerful that I've heard, man. Like you have something, and I truly believe that the devil was at work at one point in your life, but God came in and turned that around because He knew what He had, and you are killing it, man. Like you are truly killing it. I can't imagine the message that you're delivering on stage, and just know that you're changing lives, man. Like I can already tell by your energy that you brought on the podcast, man. So keep doing you, brother. All right.
AJ, thank you so much. You know why? And I'm gonna leave you with this: the devil's a liar. He's a fool.
Man,
so I promise you, my brother, when I tell you I'm in the front lines, now I'm only in the front lines, in a physical form, but in a spiritual form. So you know what? Like there's two wars we fighting out here, and I'm not naive to that.
Yes,
so man, I appreciate you sharing that with me because that gave me the goosebumps. So yeah let's get it, man.
Man.
Yes,
So I am one of the things that we did last episode. The last episode was us talking about our faith and why we believe and who we believe in, which is Jesus Christ. One thing that was powerful, I said on that episode, I said, hey, I know I was talking to somebody out there, man, and I got a few messages from a couple people that really said, man, they were in tears by that message, man, and that prayer, man. So that's another thing that we're gonna do, man. We're gonna continue to do some prayers at the end of our podcast, man, because I truly think we're doing what we're called to do, man. And I was taking some spiritual warfare after that podcast, rightfully so, man. People, like you said, devil tried to attack me because we out open about what our faith is, man. So hey, let's do it though. We're 2 or 3 are gathered, man. He's there in the midst, man, and it's 2 and 3 of us on this today. So
he's gonna have to fight for this though.
Exactly.
He's gonna have to fight for this.
Real quick, man, let's go into fair or foul, man. So this is more of which one is more foul. So
I already know where this is going.
So this is hilarious. So I didn't get a chance to. I'm gonna create a meme or actually a post, and I'm gonna put it on our Instagram page, and I want our audience to decide which one is more foul. So the same day, we had 2 posts. We had made 2. AJ had made a post on Instagram, and there it is. There it is right there. So AJ had a throwback post, and somebody left a comment. How old were you in that picture, AJ?
16, 17.
So AJ was a wannabe Jorge back in the day. AJ looked like a wannabe Jorge. So one of his audience or one of his followers or whatever said hashtag oh no it's the Cholo. Is that what they said?
He said yes. Hey, so Jorge, just so you know, my Instagram handle was oh no it's the Popo. So I posted this picture and somebody commented, you went from oh no it's the Cholo to oh no it's the Popo.
Bro, I was crying. I was crying when I saw that, bro.
Real tears.
So we had that post, right? So then me and the Savage made a post, and I don't know if he knows where I'm going with this. He knows exactly where I'm going with this.
I see this one.
So we made a post. It was me and Billy that took a picture together after doing some recording, and so we had a comment by it's Hey Blue, and this was hilarious. He said the Savage, hopefully by association his shoe game will come around, and then it says hashtag old balance. Billy has some New Balances on the picture. So my man said hashtag old balance. Hey. So I'm like sitting here laughing. I'm like, oh, what are those? So the funniest part is Billy, like, he went on there to defend himself, and he's like, hey man, you're right, man. Those are my gym shoes. So what we gonna do, man, is I'm gonna make a post, man. We're gonna put a picture up, and I want to know which one was more foul. My man went from oh no it's a Cholo to oh no it's a Popo, or hashtag old balance. So I didn't know this because those are both foul, man. I was like, oh, this has got to go on fair or foul for this week, man. I was crying.
He had on some thuns.
Oh my goodness, man. My head is hurting so much, man. That was so funny this week, man. So hey, yeah, we're gonna make sure we're gonna put that up, Billy. Maybe we could do it tonight, man, as a broadcast or feature broadcast for the next episode of the podcast. But man, this was we always say this, AJ, me and AJ say this all the time, man. I think this was one of the most fires podcasts we've had, but nah, real talk, man. This is this is probably going to be one that takes the cake. I think everybody in our audience, I don't care whether or not you're a police officer trying to become a police officer, a high school, a middle schooler, a regular civilian. I don't care. There was something for OG,
anything.
new G, you name it. There was something for everybody on this episode of the podcast, man. So everybody had a nugget to take away from this, man. And man, any last words to leave us with, Jorge, man? I mean, you know, it was fire, bro. That's all I can say.
All I could say, man, be true to who you are. You know, we're in a society right now that we so caught up looking to the left and looking to the right, and we're so consumed with just trying to impress other people. And I think that's one of our downfalls. Like, be true to who you are. And if for those young fellas young ladies that are still trying to find yourself, let's be realistically, you know what right and wrong is. And so be true to who that is. And I'll be honest with you, you have a choice. You could pick either side. That's on you. I'm not here to tell you what side to pick, but I'm here to show you what both sides look like. And I've been there. Nothing good came out of that. I not only lost my legs, I almost lost my life and my mother's life. But then I showed you what my other decision making, and I'm in the front lines with these brothers in the spiritual, not only a spiritual but in a physical, because I truly believe that when I leave this earth, I am gonna leave legacy. And so I just want you to pick a side, man. At the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. And so I know you're not naive. I know you know what that looks like. And so, you know, when you look in the mirror, if you're comfortable with yourself, I guess you'll be all right. If you're not, you got to make some changes and truly walk into your purpose.
Man, there it is. Drop the mic, man. This episode, legacy. This is what it's about. Legacy. That's what I meant when I started this podcast. I said, hey, look, we're going to show you how you can take a negative legacy and transform it into a positive legacy. And that's what Jorge just did. That's what me and Oh No Sapopo's doing, man. So, hey, AJ, man, I'm going to let you take it off with prayer. You down to do a prayer for our audience?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, brother.
Absolutely. Dear Father, I just come to you today extremely thankful that you continuously place us in situations that we could learn from to reach more people to bring into your kingdom. I just ask that you continue to watch over us and constantly remind us of who you are and what you've done in our lives. I just ask that you allow us to be the light, your hands and your feet to bring more people into your kingdom. And I ask that you watch over Ryan's family, and I ask that you watch over everything that Jorge is going through, and just give us all the strength to be who you want us to be, Lord. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Hey, fire. All of our audience members out there, our listeners, thank you guys for your support. Without your support, this podcast would be nothing. BBU would be nothing. Oh No, it's a Cholo would be nothing. My man Jorge would be nothing. It's because of all of you guys that motivate us to get up every single day. So please, if you like this podcast, share it. Share this episode. Comment. Buy your tickets for the It's Needed podcast. All of us will be there. We will all be in the building that day, including my man Jorge. What's your wheelchair, guys? What's your wheelchair? You know what I mean? I know what mine is. I know I'm going to try to get out that wheelchair just like my man Jorge. So we love you guys. Keep pushing. Leave your legacy. And with that, we're going to drop the mic. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Peace.